Yeah. So if you were in a nearby state and you can get to, for example, if you're near Washington State, or if you're near Wisconsin, states coming up soon. If you're not far from New York, look into opportunities. Pennsylvania, many of the big states coming up. If you're able to go to a nearby state, if your primary has already happened or you have a very far off primary, and you want to go do something, more now, look and see what's going on. Um, the Bernie Sanders website, like they have an organized section that has tons of information. They're really trying to. I think that the campaign is hearing us, right, with the campaign, with the complaints, with the feedback about how we need to be utilized beyond phone banking. Again, phone banking definitely important, and like I said, Nisi or Stacey, if you guys want to say anything about that, I'll let you. But at the same time, we need to grassroots really has to pick up the slack in terms of the face-to-face conversations. It's great that we have these really big rallies and marches, but if you're not actually directly engaging people, you're just a bunch of people walking with signs shouting out stuff. You got to actually engage people. Just because you're holding a sign doesn't mean that I'm going to vote for your guy. Like, why? You got to be ready with your elevator pitch, 30 seconds, your quick sell. Like, why is this the guy? Why do you think this is like who people need to be voting for? But also take just a little bit of time to talk to people and kind of see where they're at. Don't just assume that if you meet a black person that they want to hear about criminal justice reform. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever. There are other things that are important to people too, like education. K through 12 education, for example, is very important. Like Nisi was saying, it depends upon the environment, who you're talking to, where you're at. And like Stacey was saying, go where you're comfortable. Go where you're comfortable. Do what's comfortable for you. Yes, we got to step out of our comfort zone, but at the same time, if you're like not really comfortable being in certain neighborhoods or in certain communities or engaging with certain folks on certain levels, don't do it. I mean, that's just plain. That's just my thought about it. Or go with someone that you trust. But there are tons of ways to get involved. You can canvas and go travel like Yamina has done. You can do texting for Bernie. You can share on social media, but you can continue to host phone bank parties. Even though I know here in Georgia, even though Georgia has already happened, phone banking parties are still going on. That's still like a huge thing to do. We can still organize debate or town hall watch parties. We can. One of the suggestions we got online was about block party. Like, it's getting warm, right? And I would love to be in New York right now if somebody was throwing a block party, or out in California. Like, I mean, there is so much that we can do. There's tabling. Like, I know Yamina, you guys have been tabling in Fresno, right? At the local community college, like in colleges. So like, there's so much activity and engagement, and it's. I really feel like us early states, we kind of were like guinea pigs for stuff. And now I'm starting to see some of the organizing going on, like California. I'm meeting new people. I'm in Georgia, and I'm meeting so many people from California right now, whether it's LA, Fresno, the Bay Area, Northern California, like wherever. There are all these different groups. There are all these different people. Apparently, LA has a Bernie Sanders volunteer office Facebook group. So there's a volunteer Bernie Sanders group in LA, and they're also in South LA, and they have their own physical space, and they have their own thing. It's not the official campaign at all, but they're mobilizing and trying to get out there. The people are doing things with art spaces. I mean, there's stuff going on in New York that's very similar. It's amazing what's happening, So the Facebook groups are really good for getting that information about the different groups out there. And there's some really good people doing the organizing within those groups. But we need to make sure we're getting out into the community, because a lot of us are not, even if we're on social media, we're not hooked into these different groups. And those are the people that we really have to be tapping into. We're still waiting to get some actual results in to tell you guys something. We have about 15 minutes left, and again, with the time difference and then all the hijinks, for lack of a better word, that have been going on today, the long lines, the blatant, denying people access. I mean, it's wild, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out the rest of the night. I'm sure Ben will pick this up some more tomorrow. Yeah, I'm sure Ben will pick this up some more tomorrow once there's actually, more information to talk about. I know we haven't actually, so I want to kind of circle back. So one of the things I want to talk about, which we didn't actually get to, so Stacey, you can talk about it for a little bit, is just like local action. Like, Bernie needs, we're here, we're supporting Bernie Sanders, and it's great, we need to get him elected up here, But we also need, like, multiple levels of progressive action, multiple levels of progressive army, right? We need folks at the local level, state level. We need people in Congress. There are the Sanders Democrats. There are people who are running for Congress, for the House, for the Senate, who embody, pretty much the same values and platform as Bernie Sanders. But we also have people on the state level. We have opportunities to build movements and get involved in issues at the local levels. I wanted Stacey to come on just to talk a little bit about, like, kind of like what that type of activism looks like, at the local level, and how do you, as the everyday average person, really start getting involved.
Well, I mean, there's two types of activism. There is issue activism, where you are actually like, working towards, if climate change is your thing. There's issue-based advocacy, and then there's also political activism. But this is where people start out. Right now, this is a training ground. So before you do anything, you need to decide which space you want to occupy. Whereas there are certain personalities, and if there's someone who really rejects the political system and working inside that, then working on the political side clearly is not going to be a good fit. If you like to do rallies and kind of events of that nature, protests, then you're more of a direct action person. If you are, but there are many ways that you can fit in there. So you need to find out you need to search inside yourself what it is you want to do. But right now, what you're actually doing is organizing, and it's really basic, because what you're doing, we're coming together and we're communicating, we're developing under a unifying vision, Bernie Sanders. It is the same principle that you're going to do if you wish to organize when this campaign winds down, whatever the outcome, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be positive. But, how we move forward, looking at local issues, it's not just local politics, but also local issues, because while this is all going on, like here in Georgia, right now, we are, in 2 days, our legislative session will end. There's been an amazing bunch of things going on under the Gold Dome, and that's what we call our legislative house, that we have not really paid attention to. Now, you find an issue, well, how do I get involved? There are nonprofit groups that are out there that are dedicated to that. The nonprofits, one thing about working under the umbrella of nonprofits is that because of their tax status, they have to be nonpartisan. So it's a little different, and it takes all of this takes discipline. That's a component that, we all have to incorporate in what we do. You have to have a vision. You have to have a strategy. You have to have a direction that you want to go into. You have to know how you're going to get there. And if you've been in corporate, you kind of get an idea, something like a SWOT analysis. But you have to figure out where it is you want to go and how you're going to get there. So, one of the things that Stella and also Nisi brought up was about, just getting together and talking. That's that first step. Communication is key. If you have a couple of people in your community who right now is Bernie, that's your connection. You need to communicate. Communicate, build a relationship, find out the issues that you're all concerned about. Sit there and make it a part of the meeting. What is it that you're concerned about? Telling your personal stories. Any organizer will tell you that is one of the wonderful ways. Your personal story is the best way to connect, whether if you are out there doing canvassing or whether you are talking with an elected official. Your personal story, how it connects to how, like, Bernie's campaign connects to you, that gives you the ability to be the most effective, powerful messenger for his message. So by sitting down, a lot of it is just people, take a pause and we're like, I got to do something today. You have to do something, but you have to do it right. And sometimes you just have to just pause, just chill. Just chill. Think about what you want to do. But building moving forward, that's a question I get asked a lot. And it's really not that hard. But what you have to do is, it's like having a group of friends. If you don't talk on the phone or you don't see anybody, and you kind of fall out of it. And I'm not discounting, electronic activism, but it all plays a role. And the problem is that electronic activism, as we've seen it, it hasn't been very organized. There are some groups that are stronger than others, but we need to all be on the same page in terms of messaging. Take the lead from the campaign. If they're messaging about a particular thing, all the Facebook groups, we should be blowing up on that particular thing, countering the messages. If we see something going on in the news media, in the news cycle, like, for instance, yesterday with the APAC speeches, we should have been, tweeting and posting all of the, Bernie's speech, which got blacked out. We have to fill those gaps. So, and that's one way where electronic activism really works. The Facebook groups are really great for connecting, but once you connect, you have to have some sort of structure in order to organize your people and to get them ways to plug in. You have to identify, you have to kind of talk with people who come in, what brought you here? What are the things you like to do? And you have to be sort of intuitive to figure out what it is. We have to stop trying to jam, square pegs in the round holes. If somebody's really good at research or in data, you don't want them out there wilding out. If they're an introvert, you don't want them in an extroverted activity. So you kind of have to know the ways that the different components and to plug them in the right one so that people will come back and stay engaged. They will always come. The first time they come for the candidate. The second time they come because of you. And so when people come to the meeting, they're hyped about it. They're hyped about the candidate. But they're going to keep coming back if they have a good experience. And they are not going to have a good experience if everybody's sitting around bitching and moaning, what are we going to do? All is lost. Oh. No, you have to keep it. You have to inspire. You have to uplift. And that can be very, very difficult, especially with everything that's going on. But, it's really all in the scheme of things. There are 96 ways of doing direct action. 196. We are not limited to just marches and protests. There are plenty of ways that we can create action, and some of them are in different levels. No, you don't always have to go out and get locked up. I'm not trying to get locked up. Jail is not a place I really want to be. Okay? But there are ways to make change either through policy or by working with advocacy groups on a particular issue. But that only goes so far, because I need for people to understand there is a legislative solution for everything. Even the civil rights movement was centered around a piece of legislation. So, while you're doing this, and the problem is that we've kind of got to get coordinated. I think it was Will Rogers. I'm not part of any organized party. I'm a Democrat. Unfortunately, Will was right. We have to kind of get it together. But there are, a lot of signs of hope that are coming through. But the first thing you want to do is get your team together, start communicating, build those lists. What is more valuable than money? Email contacts. Oh my God. That is your money. That is your list. You guard it with your life. That is one of your main connections. You get those email lists. You stay in contact with people. You let them know what's going on, because that's why they're coming to you. They're looking for something that they can't get. They want information. Everyone thinks we're out here alone. The first thing we say is, oh my God, I'm so glad I found you. I thought I was the only one. You're not. You're just not connected. And by, using, media, online media such as this show and other outlets that do it, and also Facebook. It's all part of coming together and creating that beloved community. So
Yep.
y'all are on the first step, and we'll talk about some other things because I know you don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
But this is the first way. You guys are creating change. You just don't know it. But everybody, the first step in your homework is to figure out what it is you want to do. Tell me what it is you want to do. Because if you tell me your skills or your talents or your hobbies, I guarantee you I can tell you something that you can do. The question I have for you is, are you willing to put in the work?